Hi, I'm Lewis, and this is MusicaLewis, a channel dedicated to all good music based on my good music taste. And today we're on part 3 of my vinyl collection update. Got some more records on this shelf here to show you. We're continuing on from the 2 videos I made yesterday. This is the second day I'm going to show these videos. We've got this lot to do, and we've also got a few more to do. So I'm going to try and get them all done as quickly as possible, even if it means making a couple more videos. So we're going to continue with the ends with this one. We have Nickelback with No Fixed Address. This is the 2025 reissue version. I got this from HMV back in the summer of this year. And there's another one I brought quite later on at the same time. I'm a huge Nickelback fan, so I really do. I'm not a fan of this album in many ways, but it's still a really good one in my eyes. It's too poppy in places for me, but it's still really good. And another record I've got after this one, it's a classic album. Once I get this in, sugar. We have Paul Young with No Parley. This is a classic pop rock album from the 80s. It's quite a good record, this is. Love of the Common People is obviously the biggest song on this album, but it's still really good. And my mum had this album, but my sister took it, so I decided to rebuy this so I can have it. It's such a... I got this from an antique shop this year, and I actually enjoy this record, actually. That's what I've got. Now, a record by a band that I like, but gone into kind of obscurity now. We have Olympus Sleeping by Razorlight. This was a band I really liked when I was growing up. But to be honest, out of all the bands that I like, this is the band that I was kind of not so much into when I was growing up. America especially. And even though I found this album for £1 from a car boot, new and sealed, I've never heard anything from Razorlight for years at this point. And to be honest, when I saw this, I was like, really? Have they released a new album? Well, this is their recent album. They've just released a new album a couple of years ago now. And this is their newest one after a few years away. And to be honest, I've not heard anything off this album till I've heard it. And to be honest, it is a surprise, but I'm not... Even though I'm not overly keen on the song on the album as I thought I was. It's still a good album though, but it's not an album that I particularly find that interesting, to be honest. And an album that you'd be surprised that I've got in here, Once Upon a Mind by James Blunt. This is on black vinyl, and I personally like this album. I don't care what people think about James Blunt and people saying that he's not that good, but in my opinion, he is good. I think he's better than what most people give him credit for. I personally think he's a brilliant singer, and this is one of my favourite albums from him on vinyl, and the only one I've got on vinyl at this point. I haven't got his newest one, Who We Used to Be, on vinyl yet. I'm thinking of getting that if I can get it. But I'm happy I've got this, because this was in the HMV sale last year. So I'm glad I got this. And this record, this next one, is a prized possession to me, and one of my favourite albums of all time. Fight Star, One Day Sun, This Will All Be Yours, and this is on clear vinyl. There we are. one of the first records I ever bought when I first started collecting. This album is not easy to buy on vinyl anymore, but I personally do have it because I absolutely love it. And this is a record that is a prized possession of mine, and a record that I've only played a couple of times, but it's still a good record, this is, and one of my favourite albums of all time, this one. It's a definite must-have for me, and one of my favourite records that I'm never going to be parted with. Until I die, that is. Next, we have Blink-182 again. We looked at 9 on the last video. Here we've got One More Time Part 2, and this is on blue vinyl. It's a double album. This has 27 tracks. The original album had 17 tracks. And to me personally, I think this is one of my favourite albums from Blink-182. And I'm thinking of getting some of the other Blink-182s on vinyl as well, even though I think I'm going to go for more of the classic era period. Personally, this album is a little bit too long for the most part, even though I think 2 records for this is quite good actually. And my favourite song on this whole record is Take Me In, which I think is a brilliant song. Check it out, by the way, if you want to listen. And we've also got one of my favourite Biffy Clyro albums, Only Revolutions. This is a fantastic album and one of my favourites of Biffy Clyro as a fan. I haven't listened to this yet, but I do love it. I think I might give this one a listen sometime. It's one of my favourite albums, and especially the blue and red. I think personally it is on black vinyl, so a lot of these are on black vinyl. But the thing is, there's no lyrics with this one, unlike Boutique or Ellipsis. But I'm thinking of getting a Celebration of Endings once it gets back in stock again at HMV under the 3 for £66 offer. So as a Biffy Clyro fan, this is one of my personal favourites. And an obscure album that I found this year. Next, we have Emily Wolfe with Outlier. This is I haven't listened to this album yet, but I do think it's quite a good one. Apparently it's more of a rock, more of an acoustic country rock album, I think, but I'm not too sure. I haven't listened to it yet, so I'm going to listen to it. Personally, I'll have a look into it, but I think, but I'm hoping to give this a listen at some point. So I'm going to give this one a listen. Really, I should really listen to these before doing these videos, but busy lives, Oops, sorry for knocking the CDs there. Then we've got Holly Humberstone's Paint My Bedroom Black. This is the purple edition. Look at that. I got this from oops, dropped the sleeve. I got this from Discogs. Slightly creased on that corner there, but the thing is, when I got this, I personally thought that this was a good album because I do have the CD of it, and I actually prefer this cover compared to the let me just get the CD from up here. compared to the CD version. Look, the poster for this is actually inside the CD, and as much as I enjoy Holly Humberstone's music, I do have the sticker on the back. You can't really see it, but it's there. It's quite a good record, this. I'm glad that I've got this. And then we got another soundtrack album next, after Grease, but this is a soundtrack that my mum used to have, Paint Your Wagon. This is a record that I really wanted to get on vinyl because my sister took the soundtrack away from here and I picked up the record because my mum used to have this. So again, just picked up this record so I can listen to it again, and I enjoy it. I wouldn't say that it's good or bad or anything, but it's still a good album, you know. I do love soundtrack albums. Then we get back to, and then we're back to First Aid Kit again with their 2022 album. Their 2022 album, Palomino. This is one of my favorite albums from them, and I actually like this record. I got this first, then I got the CD after, because I know it's a bit creased on the back there, but the thing is, I have listened to this album once, and I actually listened to this when I was poorly. I was not very well at the time I was listening to this, and this album gave me a chance to relax and recover myself at the time, because I was struck with COVID at the time when I got this album. So it's an interesting album, this is, and I actually quite like it as a First Aid Kit album. And then we get another new one from this year. We got Sam Fender with People Watching, Gatefold album, black vinyl. It's still a interesting album, this one. I like the CD as well. I got it on CD just here, but having it on vinyl is just as good as well. I don't think it's as good as another Sam Fender album, which I also got on this shelf, but I will get to it when we get to it. It's an interesting release and one of my favourite albums I've ever heard from Sam Fender, so it's an interesting one, even though I didn't get it till September this year, whereas I've got the album a few months before. So, and then we got Rush with Permanent Ways, which is a classic album. I love it because of Spirit of Radio is on here. To be honest, Rush is a good band. I love this classic progressive rock music, so that's the reason why I got it. It's an original, not a remaster. And this came out in 1980. Yeah, 1980, as it says at the top corner here. So I personally think it's a good record, this. And then we got another Iron Maiden. Yeah, sorry, that's my phone. We have Peace of Mind from 1983, but this is the remaster version. Gatefold and lyrics down here. It's black vinyl as well, and this is one of my favourite Iron Maiden albums. As I said in the last video, I'm planning to get some of the Iron Maiden albums in my collection at some point. I personally think it's brilliant that we've got an album like this, so it's quite good actually. Oops. It's not my top favourite Iron Maiden, but it is a good one. So then we got a country artist now with Emmylou Harris, Pieces of the Sky. This is an original, and this came out in 1975. And to be honest, I quite like this album actually. I love this album. I do have it on CD as well in a box set. It's probably in my drawers over there. But it's still a good album, this. And I've listened to it quite a lot, actually. There's even a Beatles cover on here called For No One, which I've not really heard before. And also Coat of Many Colours, which is also a Dolly Parton cover. It's still it's a good record, this, and Emmylou Harris I really got into due to the fact that I love First Aid Kits. So Emmylou Harris was kind of influenced to First Aid Kits, so that's how I got into her. Then we come to a record that is quite a good one. We got Kids in Glass Houses with Pink Flamingo, and the colour for this one is going to shock you when you see it. It's a pink and blue splatter pink split colour. Now, you might be shocked looking at this because it's a really weird cover, this. Quite a good colour in a way, but as I said, I haven't played this one either, but I saw it this year. I think I paid about £22 for it, I can't remember, but it was something like that. Anyway, I have heard the digital version of the album. It's more of a pop rock feel to it compared to the earlier Kids in Glass Houses stuff, which I do have an early Kids in Glass Houses album down the list, but I will get to that when we get there. So, and another album I quite enjoy as well, Birdie with Portraits. I have to cover that. The thing is, this is more of a pop-centered album, and obviously, if you're into your pop music, I've got to cover that up, I'm afraid. I think that is still interesting that she's come up with something like this, and I do love Birdie as a singer, but her pop stuff is more fluent on this one. I do have this, but I've also got Young Heart, and as I said in one of my previous videos, I've already got the self-titled album too. So Birdie is in my list for me, and I'm sorry I've got to cover that front up because it's not very a clever story, is it? And then we get to McFly with Power to Play. This is on yellow vinyl. I've got to be careful with this because this is not easy to get out. There, yellow vinyl. And I do like this album actually. I think it's quite good. It's not it, and as I said, I've seen Busted McFly earlier this year, and they only played Where Did All the Guitars Go on this album. This is one of 2 McFly albums I've got on vinyl. They haven't reissued any of their older stuff on vinyl up to this point, unlike they have done with Busted. So, and I would have loved all the McFly albums to be reissued on vinyl, but unfortunately that's not the case with this one. And I do like this album. I have played it once, but I don't usually get this out because, as you've just seen, it's not easy to get the record in because it's so tight. But it's a really good album this, and a good cover too. And we go on from McFly to we saw them in the last video, but they were in here for this one as well. We have the Last Dinner Party with Prelude to Ecstasy, and this is on Oxblood Red vinyl. Like that, just like that, look. Yeah, it's a bit scratched, but you know, I've only played it once, so and personally I like this album actually. You know, I do like it. It's quite a good album, this. I think it's probably one of my favourites from the album from Last Dinner Party. It's quite a good debut for a new band. And then Present for Everyone by Busted. Like I said in my first video, this was reissued alongside with the debut. And this is on blue vinyl. Yeah. But the thing is, I forgot to mention when I did the first one in the first video that they went for the original track listings rather than the CD versions, because they omitted 2 songs that didn't appear on the original track listings. The first one they omitted When Day Changes Night, Everything I Knew. On there they omitted Falling For You and Loner in Love, which they only appear on the CD version. Well, I know it was mostly for time constraints, really. Then we got Death of Anna again, and this time we've got The Present Is a Foreign Land, and this is on terracotta vinyl. An orangey red. It says on the back here as well. There was this version, and there was also the green version, which I've seen on Vinted. But as I said earlier, I'm not a variant collector, so I don't need to buy the same album just for different colours. But I'm interested in... But I do love this band, so I'm happy that I got this on vinyl. And this next record, we have The Struts with Pretty Vicious. And this is on purple vinyl. Now, I love this band, actually. I personally think it's a good band, actually. And personally, the Struts are a local band to me, actually. They're from Derby. And I live in Derbyshire, so I know exactly where they come from. So the Struts are a brilliant band, actually. And if you look at them, they're not really a Derby band, but, you know. Now, these next few, these are mainly all blacks for now. We have Stereophonics with Pull the Pin. This is one of the 2025 re-releases, or repressing, as it says. There's this one, and they also did Keep Calm and Carry On. I don't know if the Stereophonics are going to do it with all their other albums. I know they've done up to this one and Keep Calm and Carry On up to this point. I don't know if they're going to do some more for their recent albums, but we'll have to wait and see. I actually like this. This is probably my favourite Stereophonics album, and I personally think it's one of the best ones they've put out. So I quite like this one. I played it the other day and it sounded amazing. Then Public Service Broadcasting again with The Race for Space. And also, this is interesting, if you flip the record over, you've got alternative artwork on both sides, which is unique. You've got the... I think this is on black vinyl as well. And the track listings on the back of the sleeve. The record's like this. I played the first one, but I've not played this one, so I don't know what it sounds like. And also you get the booklet in here, which is interesting. I'm not going to show it you, but you don't often get booklets in records like this. And because it's got two alternative artworks, I usually put this one up first because this is the official artwork, so I'll put that up first. And a soundtrack album next, and one of the rarest soundtrack albums to buy. One of my favourite films, The Railway Children. And this is interesting because this actually features the music from the film, and when the song ends to the next track, you hear the sounds of the steam trains going across the grooves, which is something that I found very interesting. It's an interesting sound to that, and of course you got the song More Than Ever Now, which is sung by Finch Hill, and it's a good soundtrack actually, and very rare to come by, but I do love this. I bought it from that same antique shop as No Parley, but on a different occasion. So I actually quite enjoy this soundtrack. Next is a Buddy Holly with Rave On. This is an album that was released after his death in the late I think it says 1962. It says 1964, so I'm saying late 60s. It's like a compilation, but it's on it was originally done on mono, I think. I think these are mono. I'm pretty sure it is. No, it's stereo. Stereo. I thought they were in mono. But you know, it's a good set, this. And then we have another classic album from the 80s, and this is an original, not the remaster. Bryan Adams' Reckless, another album that you can't have a collection without, in my opinion. This came out in 1984, and obviously you know this album if you've heard Summer of '69, Run to You in Heaven. These are the big songs on this album. It's such a fantastic record, this, and personally one of my favourite 80s records of all time. I grew up listening to Bryan Adams, so I know exactly what you expect from this. And another record which also has the same name, but it's a deluxe version, and this is a country singer, Morgan Reid, Reckless, the deluxe edition. This has the main album, but also it has the deluxe tracks on this one as well. This is a double album. I do have the CD as well, but the deluxe album is quite good. She's also got Psychopath and Obsessed, which I don't have on vinyl yet. I'm thinking of getting them at some point if I can find them. But Morgan Wade, she's quite good actually. One of the best singers I've ever heard on any record. And then we get to another Mysterines, and this is their debut, Reeling, from 2022. And personally, good album. You know, I love All These Things, which is the best big single off this album. But the rest of the album is fantastic. It's quite an interesting record if you listen to it from start to finish. I'm sorry about the cover if you don't like the cover, but that's how it is, you know. And then another Buddy Holly. Remember, this came out in 1971, I think, 1971. And this is also a compilation of songs that were recorded, and there's a few songs that were kind of lost during the period. And personally, and also because I showed you the greatest hits in a couple of videos previously, but these songs were mainly songs that were not added to that greatest hits as well. So they're fun. So it's nice to have this. And to be honest, I do want to collect. I don't want to double up in Buddy Holly records, but I want to buy as many as I can for a collection of records that he came out with. So, in the 1980s. I mean, in the 1950s and 1960s. So then we come to the last of the Ward Thomas collections now. We have Restless Minds on double vinyl. Same with Cartwheels. I don't like how they've put the two records in the box. It's not quite what I want in a vinyl like this. It's a good album though, but grubby finger marks all over the back here. But when I saw Ward Thomas live last week, they played a couple of tracks off this album. Even though I prefer the back cover better than the front, but it's nice. It's a nice cover though. Don't get me wrong. I quite like that better. It's such a good album in a way, but it does kind of drag in places, in my opinion. And then we get the other Catfish and the Bottommen, which I mentioned earlier. We have The Ride. This was the second Catfish and the Bottommen album I bought on vinyl. I bought this the same time as Brand New Eyes and Holy Diver. This is an interesting album, this is. I personally think it's fantastic. I think personally this record, I prefer The Balcony still, but this is still fantastic. So it's definitely one of my favourites. And then we've got Rituals by Death Havana, black vinyl, and the track listings like this. It's one of my favourite albums from Death Havana. I rather listen to this, but my favourite still present is The Foreign Land, and also the CD of their newest album, We're Never Getting Out, is also down here. I haven't got it on vinyl, but I do love this. It's still good, actually. And another First Aid kit, when I was really getting into them at the time. Ruins. This is on black vinyl as well. The differences between the CD version is that on the back, the track listing is squashed down a bit compared to the original. And I don't really like this cover that much. It looks a bit creepy, doesn't it? And also, I'm not too sure about the hand up the top there. But I don't even know how you can do that with your hand, with your other hand like that. And I did try to copy it myself, but I think you could do it. But it's just not easy. Anyway, it's a good album, this one. There's a couple of songs I'm not too keen on, but it's still a good album. And then a classic from the 80s, and in the classic of 80s pop rock music, Level 42, Running in the Family. This is a classic from the 1980s, 1986. I got this and World in Motion, which I'll get to when we do the next video. I like this. I think it's a good album. And a recent buy as well, we've got Coldplay, A Rush of Blood to the Head. This is a black vinyl, and I paid 20 quid for this at my local store. nearby. It's a good record, this. It's one of my favourites from Coldplay, so I'm not complaining too much. And another recent buy, The Script with Satellites. I played this week. It's a good record, this is. Not one of The Script's best, in my opinion, but it's still good. And then the Sam Fender I was talking about, 17 Going Under. This is one of my favourites from Sam Fender. I don't have the live album, Live from Finsbury Park. I haven't got that album on vinyl. I do have it on CD with the deluxe version of 17 Going Under, but I personally think it's not really worth it, to be honest. I do think having the other Sam Fenders on vinyl is just as good, and this is my favourite album of his, so I do like this. And another obscure one I found this year, Shaylee with Short-Sighted Security. I've not heard this one, but there's two different coloured records in this collection. One's on pink, clear pink, and one's on see-through blue. So these three. So I've not heard this album in properly, and I don't even know what she sounds like, but apparently she's one of those Bandcamp artists, apparently. You know, if you know Bandcamp, that is. I'm going to try and give this album a listen at some point, but I don't know when. But as I say, it's a bit of an obscure one in my collection. You know, I always like to go for obscure artists sometimes. And then we got Nickelback with Silver Side Up. I've got an issue with this record. On one side one, there's still some glue from the press, but it still plays brilliantly. So I'm glad I got this on vinyl. I think it's a good record, this. Personally, one of my favourites from Nickelback. So I think it's good, this one. And then we have an ABBA album, which I've also got from my mum. The singles, the first 10 years. This isn't the gold hit. This was the first time that ABBA had been around between 1974 to 1982, I think, something like that. And I quite like this set, actually. It's quite interesting to hear some of the older ABBA stuff as well as the newer stuff. So the later stuff before they finished, there's some other stuff that, and to be honest, I try to avoid gold as much as possible because obviously that's one of the biggest, greatest hits albums of all time. So I'm just stuck with this. So, and to hear some of the other songs that didn't feature on gold the first time. So, and then we get to Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet, as I mentioned earlier. This is a remaster, not a remix, not the original. And that's the reason why it's a slightly different coloured track list compared to what you can get with the original. I know on some copies of the original you got the title of the album at the bottom as well as what it says on here, and a slightly different coloured track listing, but this is a remaster of the record. Personally, I think it's a good record, this, out of all the classic Bon Jovi albums, but I personally think there's some other better albums that Bon Jovi done better than this. So an album that I don't listen to that much because I've heard it so many times already, but it's still a really good album, this. And then we got Kids in Glass Houses with Smart Casual. This is on clear vinyl as well. This is the 15th anniversary edition. Yes, it is, and they say it's remixed, remastered. Even though when I've listened to it compared to the original, I don't see that many differences with it. It's still quite good. It's still enjoyable, but it's not. But I don't see any differences with it. And then we got Pale Waves here with Smitten, which is on burgundy vinyl. Yeah. I do love Pale Waves actually. These are the only. This is one of 2 Pale Waves albums I own. I bought this in the HMV sale. I paid for about. I think I paid about 14 quid or something for it. I can't remember. There's another one I've got called Unwanted, which we'll get to in a minute. It's still good, this. I personally think it's fantastic. And then another favourite album of mine, Benjamin Francis Lethbridge, Some Things Break. This was also in the HMV sale. It's like a dark, it's like a greyish blue. Like a black blue. To be honest, I never really looked at it till this point. I just assumed it was black, but no, it's black blue vinyl. Black and blue. I have listened to this album before because I do have the CD of it, but it's one of my personal favourites. Now a pop record to show you from Westlife, Spectrum. This is the 2019 album they came back with, and the only album they put out on vinyl, unfortunately. I'm glad I've got this on vinyl, actually. And the reason why I got it on vinyl was because I really wanted it. And I bought this in December of 2022, just after Christmas. And I've never seen it again since, actually. So I'm glad I got it on vinyl when I did. I know it's a bit odd to have Westlife on vinyl compared to my collection, but it's quite nice to have, actually. And then an Avenged Sevenfold comes next with The Stage. This is the black album version. This is the black vinyl edition of the album. And personally, I think this is a good album. A bit long in places, but it's still a good album. And this next one is a classic album, and this is a fantastic album. Judas Priest Stained Class from 1978, I think. When I first got this, I bought this from a car boot this year. This cover was in a terrible condition, and the record needed a bit of a clean, so I had to use my cleaning solution that I've got. And it was a good record, this. A good classic nonetheless, and this is an original copy. Not pressing, but copy. And then Oasis again with Standing on the Shoulder of Giants. This came out in 2000. Originally came out in 2000. The vinyl was reissued in, I think it was around just early 2010, I think. 2009 it says here, but it was also reissued again in recent years. So I think it's a good record, this one. I know people don't like this one so much, but it's still a good album, this. And then from Oasis, we go back to Nickelback again. And this time it's The State from 1998. Well, it says 1999 on here. And it also reissued in 2017. This is another one of the remaster reissues of the vinyls. And this record also has a typo on the side here, where it says Nickelback and spelt KLE instead of KEL, which which it's supposed to say up here. Now, that typo has really made me laugh because it just makes me laugh when I see that, because it's meant to say KEL, not KLE. So then we get to first aid kit again, and this time with Stay Gold. This is the first aid kit vinyl I brought, and I love this record too. I love this record much as I love the Lines Roar, actually. This is on black vinyl too, and personally, a good record that I actually quite enjoy. One of my favourite records I ever loved on First Aid Kit. Then we get to Daughter with their album Stereo Mind Game from 2023. And this record is on Eco Colour as well. But this is more of a purple colour compared to the Staves with their chocolate colour. I really like this colour actually, and this album is one of my personal favourites. This was their newest album after their hiatus when she went to do X-Ray. So. Then Opeth again with Still Life. This came out in 1999 originally. This is another 2010 release. I bought this from my local record store. I paid about 25 quid for it, I think, when this is going for about 50 originally or something like that. Still a good price for a record like this. And one of my favourite classic Opeth records, actually. And then we got a soundtrack, but also an audiobook, actually. We've got Stories from Black Beauty, released in 1972. This has soundtrack from the Adventures of Black Beauty TV series, but also it has narration from one of the human characters on it. The actress recording the story is a woman called Judy Bowker, who was in the original series. So it's quite interesting to have this, because the reason why I brought it was because I saw it in that antique shop, the same with the Railway Children. So that's the reason why I brought it, and also that Rowan Atkinson one. Then we're going to move on to Kelsey Ballerini with Subject to Change, and this is a double record, but this is on Sunflower Yellow. Wow, look at that. Transparent Sunflower Yellow. The problem is it's hard to put these in because they're so tight. This is what I do. Careful how to put this in without trying to damage it. "48 minutes. Really, this is really getting on. And so I do like Kelsey Ballerini, actually. I've always have done. I want to get some of her other albums on vinyl eventually, but I don't want them all. Just want to get my hands what I can get on. So, and then Nina Nesbitt again with The Sun Will Come Up and The Seasons Will Change. This is her 2019 record. This is her most poppiest of all of the ones I've got. When she came out in the mid-2010s. She is fantastic on this, and I think it's one of the best albums she's come out with so far. I do like the others, but one of my favourites too. And another prized possession album and a pop album too is S Club 7 with Sunshine. Now this is the HMV release on the blue vinyl. And this is the 1921 part of the 1921 coloured series. 2024 it came out, so it's so I love how they reissued a lot of S Club 7's releases in recent years, but this is the only one I've got so far. And I put the stickers on the back. So, and I quite like this record in a way. It's one of my favourite pop records of all time. Right, we're going to try and get through these as quickly as possible because this is really getting on. Hurts with Surrender next, a double vinyl. This is the deluxe version of the album. And this also came with the CD. I did have the original 10-track CD, which, but I do have the original CD in here. It's here. Just give me a second. But what I've done is that I got rid of the 10-track CD and put the deluxe CD in here, even though it's got the 10 tracks on the back. But then again, it doesn't really matter, to be honest, because really the CD is safe in here. So I do love Hertz, actually. I've always been a Hertz fan, and that's one of the reasons why I got this on vinyl. It came over from Switzerland when I was buying off Amazon, so. And then we got the Eagles with their greatest hits from 1971 to 1975. This was before Hotel California. I bought this from my local record store in Matlock town, which is near where I live. It's an interesting album. This one of my favorite classic greatest hits. And then we've got Paul Simon here with we have There Goes Rhymin' Simon by Paul Simon, which came out in 1973. I was looking for this, and I'm glad that I got it in a way because I'm a good fan of this Paul Simon, and I do love their early music. So quite a good record, actually. And then Bon Jovi comes next again, and this time it's This House Is Not For Sale, well, my favourite Bon Jovi album, in my opinion. We've got the lyrics here, and this is also on black vinyl. Personally, I love this record. I think it's one of my personal favourites from Bon Jovi. 52 minutes, really got to press on. Take That, This Life from 2023. I got this to go with the Westlife one, to go with it. This is the only new Take That album I got. They've also reissued Nobody Else and Everything Changes with Robbie Williams on them in recent years, which I'm planning to get at some point. But I'm happy I've got this for now. It's a good album, this one. And then a classic from the 80s. Electric Light Orchestra with Time. This is also from my mum. And personally, I actually like this record, actually. I personally think it's a fantastic album that I actually quite enjoy. People don't particularly like this album that much, but I think it's one of the best ones. And then we got the Aces now again with Under My Influence. This came out in 2020, and this is on Ice Blue vinyl, Coke bottle blue. Quite a nice colour. I actually like this record, actually. I think it's one of their best covers ever. And also in here you get the poster and the lyrics in here, if I can get them out. You get the thank you notes here. This is what the poster looks like. You also get a poster in the other records they put out too. But I also like inside the vinyl, it does the same in the CD as well, where the pictures are like a film strip. It's quite a nice addition, really. But I would have loved the poster to be a little bit better than the CD, but the CD's up there, so I just can't be bothered to reach up to get it now. 55 minutes, we've really got to press on with this. We've really got to press on. And then we got the second pair of waves I was on about, Unwanted. Now this colour is black, but it's more of a see-through black. Yeah, see-through black look. Now, I quite like this. This is kind of a punk, like Pale Waves doing punk music, so in a way, it's kind of a Pale Waves meets punk rock on this record. So we're down to the last three after this one. Nearly an hour here. We got a Comic Relief album, which I bought from a charity shop recently. Utterly Live from Shaftesbury Theatre. This also features Rowan Atkinson on here as well. That's one of the reasons why I picked up. We got Kate Bush, Billy Connolly, Bob Geldof, Cliff Richard, and so much more on here. So I'm going to... That's why a lot of these comedy records are pretty good. These were the thing back in the 80s. So I'm just glad I got this Comic Relief record. And then we got the last two now, 56 minutes. We've really got to press on. Visions of a Life by Wolf Alice. This is one of my favourite albums as well. Like My Love Is Cool, which is one of their earlier one as well. I personally love this record to bits, and it's on black vinyl, but it's also in the silver casing, which I quite like. I personally think they're good with this. So. And finally, for this video, Coldplay, Viva La Vida, Defo and All His Friends. And this is on clear recycled vinyl, part of their clear recycling clear recycled vinyl, which is part of their clear recycled series that they brought out this year. I've got this one on this series so far, but I'm thinking of getting some of the others like Parachutes and hopefully some of the others too, like Milo Zalito and Head Full of Dreams and probably Ghost Stories. But this one, I'm glad that I've got this on vinyl because this is my favourite Coldplay album. So anyway, it's been nearly an hour this video, and to be honest, I'm running out of time here. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm sorry it took a long time to get through them this time compared to the other ones I did around 50 minutes. But when I do my next shelf, there's not going to be very many next time. And also I've got my 10-inch and my 7-inches to show you, so I'm going to go through them as quickly as possible. I hope you enjoyed this video, and obviously I know if you've got to this point already, I thank you very much for watching. It's 58 minutes is a long time to do something like this, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like and subscribe, and thank you very much for watching. Goodbye for now.